Peyton Place is almost 70 years old, so I'm going to assume that nobody's going to need spoiler warnings. Consider this your spoiler warning. Because it's really hard to talk about the movie and not get into the storylines, and that spoils the storylines. So the way you get guided into town with Michael Rossi with his car, it kind of shows that the average American male can be sort of nondescript, wearing a nice suit. I'm sure if you're very into suits, you would know that that was a 1957 suit and not a 1941 suit. However, as soon as you see the women, there is hairstyles, dresses, just everything they wear is incorrect. But I think it's more incorrect at the beginning of the film, because we're setting the stage of spring of 1941, and they're all wearing A-lines. They're all wearing like large, turned over hair and all of that.
In 41, they would be wearing long hair and victory curls, and pencil skirts or simple skirts.
Yeah, and the cropped curls like this.
Yeah, in a net.
Is that the victory curls?
The victory curl is the front.
Yeah, is the front. Well, so slowly, as the film progresses, this is my theory, they start bringing it in. And then even Constance, who is played by Lana Turner, who is basically the biggest transgressor of wrong era clothing, they wrapped her all in this tight 1950s stuff. And that's just, they can't do that in the early 1940s. So she also starts to get like the curls like this without the net, because they have to give something to the 1950s. So it's
not everybody wore the net.
Yeah, large. It's too big. It's too everything. If you can, Vivian Leigh did it better, and she was playing. She was in the Civil War. But still, they start giving nods to it. And I think that works very well. I think if you have to say, we can't just throw the American audience in the 1950s, deep 1950s, into a film and take out all that old-fashioned stuff, because it's only 16 years ago for them.
Yeah, that's old stuff, not really vintage. It's not really vintage stuff.
They're uncomfortable with it. It's like, but that's the ugly stuff that we left behind. Yeah, but in 1941 it was all the rage. But in the scenes where there's the big picnic and you have an awful lot of extras, look at all the other women. The women that aren't the prettiest and aren't standing out. They're actually wearing decently period clothing and very period hair. So somebody went around there and started to do up every one of the extras' hair. And also the hats started to look like, oh yeah, those are 1930s, early 40s hats, instead of 50s hats, which are not the same. So I think they needed to do some kind of balancing act or juggling act with this. It's like, let's not do that because it'll turn off all the young people, because this is old fogey stuff. But this movie is for the young people. And that's just my supposition on this, because otherwise I don't see any reason why they did this. Everybody looks great in those cropped curls and the big victory thing, and and I also, for a film where every relationship is very, very bad, very, very bad, I find that all the relationships that get formed in the film are actually super wholesome and very, very healthy. So that, I love that. It's like you're coming from all this really dysfunctional stuff, and it's moving with an almost breakneck speed towards, aww, that's the cutest couple ever. Wait, they're even better together. Aww, they're lovely together. Let's have them together. It's just, they're wonderful. And I was not expecting that. I was expecting the whole thing was going to be dysfunctional relationship drama for the entire thing. I think the film is actually a feminist movie, which I don't know if it was presented as such or what film academics think about it, but everything that's wrong in this film, everything that's wrong in their lives has to do with suppressing women. Everything that is part of women's lives is either not able to be talked about, or it's just shouldn't exist kind of thing. You have to pretend it doesn't exist all the time. It starts with the school teacher who doesn't get the promotion because they're getting a dude from out of town, who, by the way, gets himself almost double the salary just by being bald dude, and everybody goes, oh, we need him to become the head of the school. And he then schmoozes the school teacher and says, no, I need you. And I'm thinking, oh, is this going to be one of those films? Because then she's like, all right, you've got, you had me at your good ideas. He had some ideas about modern teaching. I like it. I'll stay for you. Barf. But I think it's showing, because that woman does not get her due in this film at all. That was just to bring us in, and here are the kids. These are the kids that we were going to care about. Oh, by the way, there's a school teacher that gets shafted. But everybody, pretty much all the women in this film were shafted before the movie starts. Or during. As for our poor Selena, it's just... I mean, a lot of social drama in American films end up in a court case. Guess what? It ends up in a court case. However, this one doesn't end up in a court case because it's a social drama and nobody knows what to do anymore. This one legitimately ends up in a court case because somebody is dead and was murdered and that was covered up. So kind of like, yeah, you need a court case for that. I was a bit surprised that they were going to do one.
I thought this was a very nice soap thing. Dead person.
No, this is not a very nice soap thing. This is a horrific soap thing. This is the film where everything happens that you're not supposed to have happen. We have abortion. We have rape, attempted rape. We have suicide. We have domestic abuse. We have incestuous abuse. Hence the murder. We have illegitimacy, which was a really big deal in the 1940s. I'm not sure about 57. Probably. But I think, dude, wait about 50. Okay, you gotta have to wait 15 years. Maybe 10 if you're lucky. If you're close to New York City, 10 years will be enough and there'll be a whole different world. But I assume not that much change between 1941 and 1957. Not on these points. So.
A few years after this, the birth control becomes way better and then solves a bunch of the problems.
Yeah, because this incestuous rape thing turns into a pregnancy of a... we have established that they're 19 when they're leaving school. Most people aren't 19 when they're leaving school, especially, just high school. You can be 17, you've been 18 is more likely, but we've established people are 19. Okay. It's a long time to stay in the town.
Just for the sake of the movie, because not in reality, no.
Yeah, the book probably doesn't have it, and I didn't read the book. To illustrate that, I think the core subject of the film is actually women's rights, feminism, and things like that. You've got Constance, she has a daughter. The daughter was... she looks like she was a young mother. And she had an affair with a married guy somewhere in New York. And then left. She says he died. I still don't know if he actually died, because she lied about everything else, so why not about that? And then she came there to raise her kid and said that she married a guy and he died. And that's the only way she could actually have a proper life for herself. She runs a shop. She has her own dress shop, which is very good She also has a proper home, and she has not a live-in maid, but she has somebody who comes in, housekeeper, comes in every single day at the start of the day. So that's a proper setup, and she's done well for herself. And then the daughter, Allison, she doesn't know any of this, and she's like this free fighting young woman. Modern. She doesn't want to go to college. She just wants to write. She wants to be a journalist. She wants to write books. I mean, this is one of the earlier ones, but I am getting a little tired of the struggling young writer woman who is the protagonist or the point of view of the story. And I thought for a second, after we left teacher Michael Rossi, I thought for a second that it was going to be her story, but it's actually everybody's story. So it's kind of like omniscient point of view, because you follow all of these characters, and it's a lot of characters. You've got 4 couples, you've got a couple of side characters, and you've got one side couple that is the gossip couple. So, and you pretty much, except for the gossip couple, the main 4 couples you follow their lives, and that's 8 people. So that works very well. And the film is long. You know, I think it's 2.5 hours. And it needs to be 2.5 hours, because there's a lot of story to tell. It starts in the spring of 41. So in December, you know that there's going to be the Pearl Harbor attack, and pretty much straight away all the young men need to go to war. So if we've established that they were 19, maybe that was the reason they needed to be 19, they are all signing up and they're all going.
So it's about the women that stay behind, basically, for the rest of the movie. No? Okay.
That was about half the film. Yeah, they don't really follow the boys that actually go out. You get to see Norman. Allison has a relationship with Norman. I thought he was going to be our LGBTQ couple, but he wasn't. I'm still a bit sad about that, but he does make a very nice partner for Allison, and he's he goes into the paratroopers, so pretty kick-ass. One of the other boys doesn't come home, which is Rodney, and his relationship with Betty I thought was interesting, because the girl says she tried to be the kind of person he would want, because she has been in love with him since she was a small child. So she was just like, what does he want? I'll be that. That's a very interesting take on people's identities and things like that. And then because he liked loose women, and she was, very enticing loose woman, but she was only gonna have him, his dad doesn't want him to go with her. So it immediately shows you that, yes, the harlot is the one to have sex with, but not the one to marry. And they almost literally say that. It's like, yeah, you can have a fling with her, but you cannot take her to the prom. Yeah. And then, of course, he takes Allison to the prom, and he's only looking at Betty. Which, I think he's a nice guy. I mean, I wouldn't marry him, but she likes him, and he's genuinely into her. So then she says, are you gonna do what your dad says your whole life? So it's maybe also a little bit about emancipating the young men, getting out of that not so much rat race as just the expectations. Maybe it's one step towards the 1960s, even though this was maybe written in the 40s. I don't actually know when it was written. So let's talk about Selena. She is growing up wrong side of the tracks. I believe this is one of the few times that we actually see abject poverty in American films. I mean, we've got Grapes of Wrath, we got a couple of these things, but they only if it's like the main topic of this, oh my god, let's talk about poor people. In this case, it's just like, yeah, there's also literally the wrong side of the tracks. They live along the train tracks, right where the thing goes ding, 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 probably all day and all night long. And it's a shack. It's horrible. And that mother, she has 3 children, because the film opens on the oldest boy running away. not actually running away because he's saying proper goodbye to his mother, his sister, and his small brother. But it's like, no, I'm leaving. And the implication is that the stepfather has been beating him all night. And beating is... We're lucky if it ends with that, because of course they wouldn't put anything more than that in. But he clearly was, I'm out of here. And why shouldn't he? I mean, he could. War is coming even then. He can get in the army, and he knows he can get food, he can get education. He doesn't have to stay. So why would he stay in this kind of... If he's gonna get beaten up, might as well get beaten up in the army. They don't say all that, but this is like, yeah, if he is older than Selena, then he is 19 plus. He's 20, 21. Why is he even there? But that might also mean that Selena's mother now has one less income to feed the household. And she's working 2 jobs. Selena's mom married another guy after one assumes the guy died or he just left. Who knows? Because we don't get the information. And this guy is abusive. He's all apologetic in the morning. He even comes to apologize to the son that is leaving, but it's too little too late. Nobody believes him. We're out of here. But Selena is there. She can't leave. She still has to do her final sitting for high school. And she has nowhere to go. She can't just up sticks and go to the army. I'm sure there's something that women can do, by the way, that... there wouldn't have been any sort of...
Not in the army. No.
No. Well, she's stuck. There you go. This is the narrative of the entire film. Is every scene that you look at is like, these women are boxed in. You might as well be in prison. And they kind of say that at the end in the room when Selena's on trial. They're saying going to jail would be... yes, she wouldn't be able to go anywhere, but she's already getting beaten up and she's getting raped, so... And she can't go anywhere, she has no choices. Then... See, poor Selena is the most put upon person in this film. Then her mother commits suicide.
Goody.
And she's... at that point Selena's been raped. We don't know yet that she's pregnant. But yeah, it sucks. Yes, we do know that she's pregnant. Then the guy comes after her, wants to kill her. Somehow he doesn't throw her down a mountain, even though that would have been perfectly logical in that scene. But she just falls down the mountain. I don't know. That may have been in the book. And then ends up in the hospital, and oops, she's no longer pregnant. And the doctor comes in and he pretty much says that we're going to write this up as an appendectomy and that's it. He knows what he did. He says in the court case, because I thought it might have been, because of the fall, it might have been a miscarriage. And he just, made sure that she was okay after that. But that doesn't look like that's the case. Yep. And that may have been something that the film couldn't do outright. They may have been like skirting, because you listen to the dialogue. You can see that they're actually not saying the operative words. There's very careful ways of referring to everything so that you can actually talk about it and actually have it in the film without sort of saying, well, kind of not.
So they're not saying abortion.
I'd have to check that. I think they didn't use the word abortion at the end. But he testifies that he did give her an abortion. Oh my goodness. So yeah, this is the film where everything is in it. If you want to see stuff about everything that they never talk about, this is the film. And it's serious. Nothing's taken lightly, and it's not melodramatic either. I think it doesn't become a melodrama because they're not focusing on one person and their suffering. It's got all of these these people have problems that are caused by the patriarchy.
Down with the patriarchy!
What can I say? And I think this genre, whether this was made for young adults or for adults, this genre is still going on. We still have this genre. It's the genre where women are dealing with real issues.
The patriarchy!
Seemingly our protagonist, Allison, she runs away from her mother after she finds out that she's illegitimate, because that's a big deal. And then she goes to New York, and it takes her a while. By that time, she's already worked at a newspaper in Peyton Place itself. So she has some place to start in New York. And still, it's crawling up. And then when she comes to talk to her mother, she says, I now get to kiss the boys I want to kiss. Which probably stands in for actually going all the way, because 1957, Hays Code, they can't say it. And she says, I don't ever want to get married. And in the beginning I thought, oh, she's our lesbian. No, she's not. No. No, she just wants a different life. She doesn't want to get stuck in this boxed in world. And then they say, at the end of the movie, is all the young people leave Peyton Place. Well.
Gee, we're so surprised.
Yeah. So I was thinking, you start with the car, Rossi's car coming in to Peyton Place, and it all looks beautiful because it is somewhere upstate New York. It's very pretty. And you think, oh, Hallmark! But if this is what Hallmark based its movies on, they didn't quite understand.
The assignment, no, they didn't.
Yeah, because this is like All That Heaven Allows. This is the kind of film where you find out that no, this is not the world you want to be living in, you want to be stuck in. This is not good for women. This is very restrictive, stifling, and killing. Because the suicide, this woman, she had nothing. There's no support or anything. She had no education. She spends her life being a housekeeper, and that's pretty good for somebody with zero education. She could also have been working in the textile mill, because it's a textile mill town. So kind of like that Pajama game, only not so happy. They do the big picnic. That does happen.
It's from the same year.
Ah, okay. We should compare them side by side at some point. Very interesting. Okay. I can't imagine having to choose between, am I going to Pajama Game or I'm going to Peyton Place this year? It's like, oops. Well, they're both about textile mill life. Yeah. Interesting. So I was really pleasantly surprised. It's also gorgeously filmed. I would say freeze frame any particular moment and it's going to be pretty. Everybody looks awesome. Of course, the only person who looks not awesome is Selena's mother, but she had no way to even. I mean, she was living in squalor. It was horrible. And when Selena gets a job with Constance, so Allison's mother, in the shop, she starts to finally get a nice dress. Turns out, well, all the dresses are very 1957. And the blouse plus the skirt, all the very, the very super tight waistline. It's just not even, they're not even going to go there. And then she's taking care of the little brother, and suddenly we have an interior of the shack, and I'm like, what happened? So over the summer, just maybe 6 months at the most, from the time that she graduated, got the job there, and Christmas when the stepfather shows up again, she really, I mean, that was a lot of work for one person. And the boy is almost too small to even do anything. So she's being a single mom. She's, single big sister, full-time working. It's a very nice house on the inside. Outside's just still a disaster. Yeah. And so she's going to be there taking care of that kid for, now, 10 more years. And her guy, Ted, he says, I need to marry you now because otherwise we won't marry. And she's like, no, you have to go to university and become a lawyer. So there's this, and I'm like, they're having proper conversations about this at 18, 19 years old. And they articulate their considerations, not in a way that a 35-year-old would do it. But certainly, like, this is what I need from you, and this is what I can give you, and we really want a life together. And when she's in the hospital and he doesn't know that she had a miscarriage or an abortion, he doesn't know about any of that. He's still like, he's very gentle, caring, and he's patient. And I mean, and all of the relationships of the kids are like that. It's awesome. I love it. So, for the healthy relationships, this is probably the only review ever of Peyton Place that will tell you, for the healthy relationships, go watch Peyton Place. It's lovely. It's lovely. Yes, lots of stuff happens, but for people from now, it's like, yeah, of course, all this stuff is happening. Not so much that they all happen to all of these people in one film, but it's like we've seen everything, so it's not like there's anything in there we haven't seen before. The murder, covering up the murder was a bit much. I was not expecting that one. But go girl, yay. I mean, it's showing that these women had nowhere to turn, and that's the problem of the patriarchy. That's why it's a feminist film, because it's literally throwing it open and say, see, this kills people. She would have gone to jail. She had nowhere to turn. Rape should just not go unpunished. That's domestic abuse. Being afraid of the stepfather, living in squalor, okay, that it's horrible. And in some cases it can't be helped. It should be helped by society. So nobody was helping anybody, and that's why I needed social care. And just plain, women need to be able to say, he did this to me, and be believed. So I think it's super feminist, and I loved it. It doesn't stop at any moment. It's very pretty to look at. I would definitely recommend it. Even though it's an old movie and it sounds a bit soapy, I didn't find it very soapy. It was spot on. So that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.